Clay Spicklemire on your left with 5-color Death Shadow, and Dan Musser on your right with Eldrazi Tron. Both these players 9 and 2, very much in top 8 contention. And we will see who is able to win this one, move on to 10 and 2, and further their chances to be in the elimination rounds later this evening. And because I'm such a nice guy, about a 40-minute warning for you fantasy football fans out there. Get your lineup set. Hear me?
Collect your cash.
Set your lineup, collect your cash.
You're losing your opportunity for cash collection. That's
right. An Urza's Power Plant and an Expedition map is where we will start things here in round number 12. Street Wraith is going to go to the graveyard here for Clay, so he's going to go down to 18. New card on the way for your Death Shadow players. He picked up a copy of Fatal Push, not so great in this matchup. He'll sacrifice a Marsh Flash, fall down to 17, likely to be down to 13 now, as he'll get an Overgrown Tomb. Thoughtseize will deal him 2 as well. That means the Death Shadow could be online as soon as turn number 2. For Dan Musser, he's got a Dismember, a Waste, a Walking Ballista, a Reality Smasher, and the very powerful Chalice of the Void in this matchup.
Very, very good on the play. Depending on Clay's hand, it might be automatic that he has to take it. A lot of one-cost cards, obviously.
So Spicklemire will write down the contents of Dan's hand here in a moment, I'm sure, as he sorts through his hand, and he will select Chalice of the Void. That is gone. Musser will be untapping. See if he can draw another Tron land here in just a moment. Looks like he picked up another copy of Waste. So he will play a Waste here, and we might see him just leave up mana for Expedition map. He could, of course, go to Walking Ballista this turn if he'd like to. That's certainly an option. Musser certainly giving this some thought, but he's just going to pass the turn back and leave Expedition map at the ready. We go over to Spicklemire. Stomping Ground he picked up here. He does have a Tarmogoyf in hand. He also has a copy of Liliana of the Veil. Spicklemire trying to get an idea of how large the Tarmogoyf is right now with a creature, a land, a sorcery, and an artifact in the graveyard. It'll be a 4/5 on the second turn of the game.
I like trying to get a sense of how large it will be when the information's all public.
Just got to know. Just trying to figure it out.
Take a second to figure this out.
Yeah. So there is the 4/5. Musser does have Dismember in hand, but that would be an instant, and that means that the Tarmogoyf would not die. It would turn into a 5/6 and they get -5/-5.
And I like not cracking the Expedition map there. I think people get in this habit of, I'm just going to crack the map and get a Tron piece. What Musser wants to do is be able to naturally draw one of the missing Tron pieces and then search for the other. If you just crack your Expedition map and search for a Tron piece, you're left to have to draw the last one. So just trying to increase his odds that he fills out Tron sometime in the near future.
In some situations, you'll also see the Eldrazi Tron player search for an Eldrazi Temple in that spot. But Musser's hand is a little unwieldy, I would say, right now.
Yeah, I mean, he can get to, you know, if he wants to next turn, he can get to Reality Smasher if he wants it.
For now, he'll just play another Waste, and he'll pass the turn back over to Spicklemire. Spicklemire will draw a card. Remember, he's got a Liliana of the Veil in hand. Musser doesn't know that, however. And it looks like he may have just picked up a copy of either Street Wraith or Death Shadow, but it looks like it was a Death Shadow. Clay also has a copy of Fatal Push in hand, but again, Fatal Push, not the best card in this matchup. Clay going to think some things through on this turn. He's going to start by playing Verdant Catacombs, and now the 4/5 Tarmogoyf looks like it's going to head into the red zone.
It's a little rough for Spicklemire to play Liliana of the Veil in the dark, essentially, because he knows about the Reality Smasher. So, just going to have to hang back.
He will not do that. Musser will sacrifice his Expedition map. And I think it's an Eldrazi Temple that he'd like to get because, as you mentioned, this is going to turn on Reality Smasher now.
Yeah, I think Musser was trying to give himself a couple of draw steps here to draw a missing Tron piece and just assemble that way. But the draw steps were not cooperative, and now he's just going to go to Reality Smasher a little bit ahead of schedule.
So Temple has been added to Dan's hand. And now Dan will draw. Looks like he may have picked up another copy. Another Tron land, excuse me. Not sure which card it was, but it looked like it was a white bordered card. Leads me to believe it could be a Tron land here. But we know he's got that temple. He's got to be wondering what's going on Clay's side of the battlefield. He's played a Tarmogoyf. He's got a lot of cards in his hand. He's not doing anything. Looks a little strange on the surface.
I mean, that could easily be removal spells, as Musser hasn't added anything to the battlefield yet.
Well, Musser says, you know what, I'm going to play Reality Smasher because don't really have much else going on. We see Clay's hand. He does have a main deck copy of Dismember in his deck, does Clay, and I think it might be in his hand right now.
It's interesting because he has these various options of dismembering the Reality Smasher or planning on playing Liliana the Veil or just taking the hit.
Yeah, because taking the hit's not so bad when you have Death Shadow in your deck.
So the problem with Liliana the Veil as a follow-up next turn is that Spicklemire still knows about the Walking Ballista in Musser's hand, which and Musser has enough mana to play a Ballista for 2, shoot down the Liliana, and still have something left over.
This will be Dismember, and there will be a trigger from Reality Smasher, which means that Spicklemire needs to discard a card, and he's going to actually discard Liliana.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's probably just a function of the, first of all, just getting another card type in the graveyard for Tarmogoyf, and also because of the Walking Ballista in hand, it's really hard for Spicklemire to do very much with the Liliana.
Well, Clay will let the Liliana go, which means Tarmogoyf has grown into a 6/7 Lirgoyf, and it will be attacking here for 6. Musser's going to fall down to 10. Spicklemire still with that Fatal Push, Death Shadow in hand, and his draw step for the turn was a Watery Grave.
And of course, the Walking Ballista not very good, but sorry, the Fatal Push generally not very good. But I think Spicklemire wants to keep it as a way to clear out a chump blocker for next turn if it ends up being Walking Ballista.
Well, it'll be a Death Shadow here for Spicklemire. And we will go over to Musser now. Musser is going to play a Walking Ballista for 2.
And I think that's exactly what Spicklemire wanted. And now that he's got the Fatal Push for cleanup, and I'm guessing a lethal attack next turn.
And it looks like Musser will just pass the turn back. Spicklemire is going to untap before playing this Fatal Push. Now he will cast the removal spell to take care of the Walking Ballista.
Separating his hand in such a way to let Musser know, actually, I didn't top deck this.
I've had this.
I had this.
I had this, yeah.
I had you pegged from a mile away.
And that's going to take care of this game. So Clay Spicklemire is going to win game number 1 here over Dan Musser. 5-color Death Shadow up a game here over Eldrazi.
In my younger years, I did that a lot.
That was your move?
That was, yeah.
That was your move,
so
huh?
you know, I had it.
I set you up.
I set you up.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here.
You rube.
2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Pithing Needle, 2 Warping Whale, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Blight Herder, 2 Relic Progenitus, along with a Ghost Quarter, a Witchbane Orb, and a Grafdigger's Cage here, Patrick. What do we like here from the Muss Man?
I could see bringing in the Ratchet Bombs here to have a little bit more interaction early on in the game. The Relic of Progenitus seems fine. I think Blight Herder could be solid in this matchup. It's just another, medium-sized body, get on the battlefield a little bit sooner, but not a whole lot to like here.
We take a look at Clay Spicklemire. His sideboard is a diverse one with 3 Lingering Souls, 3 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Ancient Grudge, and here come the one-of fun-ofs. In Kozilek's Return, Liliana the Last Veil, a Godless Shrine, a Stubborn Denial, Nile Spellbomb, a Temur Battle Rage, and an Is It Static Caster.
So I like the 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke quite a bit. Musser's playing with a lot of expensive cards. I could see the 1 copy of Temur Battle Rage coming in because Musser is stabilizing more through blocking than through removal, and typically Battle Rage is good in those matchups.
Yeah, I think Battle Rage will be good here.
I'm down for it.
I think it'll be coming in here for Clay.
Not a huge Lingering Souls fan in the matchup.
No, I don't think you really need to go
slow,
that way.
And Eldrazi Tron just brawls way bigger than that card. Has trample and a lot of pinging effects. I think it's a bad matchup for Lingering Souls.
Well, both these players are going to sideboard shuffle up and get ready here for game number 2. Dan Musser will be on the play for that game. In the meantime, though, we're going to talk about an area where you can play even more modern Magic. You're watching it here on the SCG Tour. We do thank you for joining us here while we are in Derby City. That's Louisville, Kentucky. But you can find a location near you for your regionals November 4th. Modern. More information right now.
Don't miss the StarCityGames.com Season 2 Regional Championships. On November 4th, play Modern at any one of the 10 regional locations across the U.S. The first 200 players to register for each event will receive a Hammer and Scale playmat and Kraken token just for signing up. Regional championships are part of the SCG Tour with SCG points for all players. Top 8 competitors earn a trophy, a share of $5,000, and a spot on the Season 2 SCG Invitational. Visit go.starcitygames.com/regionals to learn more.
Go.starcitygames.com/regionals for more information. Find a regional close to you. $5,000 in cash and prizes, SCG Tour points, awesome playmat and token. Hopefully we'll see you there. Plant your flag November 4th as we get ready here for game number 2. We'll learn a little bit more about the Cubs fan. Cubs fan. I want to let, he's young. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. Clay Spicklemire, 17-year-old from Indianapolis, Indiana. 2 Open top 8s, 1 win in Louisville last time we were here for that team open with Chris and Spencer. He lived at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs for 2 years while his dad taught physics. Wears at least 1 article of Cubs clothing, at every Magic tournament for good luck. Taking advanced math courses at a local college. Pretty smart kid, pretty good Magic player too, is Clay Spicklemire. Though I can't, the Cubs thing, man. It's not good luck.
But they want to.
They got lucky.
They want to,
They got lucky.
It's okay to enjoy your title for a little bit.
No, they got lucky. We blew it. We blew the 3-1 lead. Not this year, though. No. We're winning it all this year. I want a rematch against the Cubs. And Connor O'Donnell, our former coworker, if you're listening, we're coming for that title. He's a big Cubs fan. Big Cubs fan.
Mostly, disconnected from talks of titles.
Yeah.
Stop paying attention. Just waiting for Renfro to come back from AAA. So that's all the baseball I pay attention to.
Look, you've been saying it. You've been saying it all weekend long. You'd be happy with a 70-win season for your Padres.
If they get to 70, that's my magic number. Yeah. Games back of 70. Yeah.
That's what you're aiming for?
Totally, yeah. I'll take it.
That Renfro jersey's in the mail, buddy.
Yeah.
I hope you wear the heck out of that.
Right, next to my Jed Jericho jersey in the closet.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oofa.
Yeah.
Clay down to 17. See if he's going to go any lower. He's going to play an Inquisition of Kozilek targeting the Mussman. Musser's got an Eldrazi Temple, a Waste. And Urza's, that's a power plant, excuse me. Along with a Chalice, a Blight Herder, and a Matter Reshaper. That's a combination of cards I've ever seen one. Chalice going to bite the dust again. Musser can't get one of those to stick. Maybe he'll top deck one. Who knows?
But a very, very good hand. Turn 2 and turn 4 plays coming in.
Seen worse draws. Seen worse draws. Musser will draw. Temple, Reshaper, kick it over to Clay.
Looks like Clay has brought in Ancient Grudge, possibly out of respect for Chalice of the Void, possibly out of confusion for how the Eldrazi work. We'll find out.
I'm going to lean towards the first one, the former. Musser's draw for the turn was Seagate Wreckage.
How many times do you think an Eldrazi there's been an attempted Ancient Grudge on an Eldrazi?
Shatter it.
So
I'll shatter it. No, you won't. It's non-zero.
Right, for sure.
It's non-zero.
For sure.
Relic of Progenitus, the draw.
Also noteworthy, Spicklemire missing his second land drop.
Yes, very important to note. This one might be on the house here for Musser. Now this is a fun little game here. This reminds me a little bit of what we've seen with Death Shadow and what I wrote about earlier this week. So, Dan can attack.
Yeah.
He sure can. And he can knock Clay down to 12. But that might not be a good idea.
Yeah.
But he's going to do it.
Well, I think he's got Reality Smasher in hand, so he's just trying to close this out over a couple turns.
Spicklemire will draw a card now. Picked up a copy of Traverse the Uvenwald.
It's gotten a lot worse now.
Well, he will still traverse, get a basic land now.
It's got 1 swamp in the deck, I believe.
And there's the swamp you spoke of. So does Clay have a Death Shadow to cast? That's the question. I see some of the other goodies he has in his hand. Ancient Grudge, as you mentioned. I think another Inquisition over there, too. But he's going to go to Death Shadow. It's just a 1-1 right now. But it looks like it's going to get bigger here very soon as we head over to Musser. Looks like Musser may have drawn an Urza's Mind. But right now, mana isn't really the issue or the bottleneck for Dan. It's things to do. Now, we know he's got Reality Smasher, but now he's got some thinking to do.
So you can probably safely assume Spicklemire is not on a Street Wraith in hand right now. Because with him missing land drops, he would have cycled it had he had it. So the question is, does something so bad happen to you on the way back? You know, if you play Reality Smasher and just hit, you know, you attack him for 8 down to 4, and then suddenly does something like, I drew a fetch land for a red duel, I'm at 1 in Temur Battle Rage, and you're just dead.
You're just dead, yeah. That's kind of what's got to be running through Dan's mind right now. I think it's pretty easy to take him off a Street Wraith,
right?
Because he would have done it already. But instead, Dan is not going to attack at all. He says, I'm going to sit pretty and I'm going to wait. And what's interesting now is here comes an Inquisition of Kozilek. Dan's hand is Seagate Wreckage and a Waste. His Spicklemire has drawn another Death Shadow. So it's actually better that Dan didn't attack, because these Death Shadows would be huge, and instead they're merely 1/1s. And if Dan's able to draw something like a Walking Ballista here, life gets very easy as he draws a card for the turn.
Yeah, I think with just better draw steps and a Seagate Wreckage, Musser is okay with trying to settle in for a little bit.
He'll play the Seagate Wreckage and simply pass the turn back. So we're going to go over Spicklemire. Now, things do change if Clay does draw a fetch land, of course, which he, of course, did, as I mentioned it. He picked up a copy of Marsh Flats. So now these Death Shadows are now going to become 4/4s whenever Clay would like them to be. It's kind of the backwards nature of playing against this deck, folks, where attacking is so easy to do, but now Death Shadows have shown up, and they can become very large very quickly and kill you when you're trying to kill them.
Yep. Just hanging back here from Musser's side, trying to make it dangerous for Spicklemire to use his life total as a resource here, and then hope to draw to some just one of your huge plays that's overwhelming, or a Walking Ballista, which then gives you a lot of control over how Spicklemire can manage his Death Shadows.
Spicklemire is going to fall down to 9, which means that these Death Shadows are 4/4s. Got himself a Blood Crypt, which means that Ancient Grudge and Terminate are on now. And now here is Terminate targeting Reality Smasher. Trigger. Musser will discard, Musser will remember the trigger, and now Inquisition is the card that gets discarded. Now Clay might be thinking attacking with both Death Shadows because they are 4/4s, and Matter Reshaper not a good block here.
And Spicklemire being at 9 means he's safe from Reality Smasher plus the Matter Reshaper killing on the way back.
Mm-hmm. So for Musser, what do? You're going to block is what you're going to do. You're going to take 4, fall down to 16. You're going to hope that Matter Reshaper is going to cough up something that matters. Well, there's the Tower of Power. Tron is online now. Musser will draw a card for the turn. And the tough thing here for Dan is he cannot get cards out of his hand for Seagate Wreckage.
Yeah, he really doesn't care what spell he draws. Just anything at all will do.
He'll play another Urza's Land and simply pass the turn back. So we're going to go over to Spicklemire. Dan's got all the mana in the world, but he's got 2 lands in hand, and I think he actually played this game pretty well with regards to not attacking with the Reality Smashers and Friends, because if he had, he'd be pretty dead right now. However, Spicklemire has drawn another fetch land, folks. That's a Bloodstained Mire. He's going to come across here for 8. And now I am curious if he would like to sacrifice this fetch land to deal himself 3 points of damage, because if he does that, he could put himself in walking ballista range.
Right, and that's the counting that you can see he's doing right now. Is so if he doesn't go down to 5 or below, he doesn't have to worry about Reality Smasher. And then past that, you just have to do a count on mana here. And I think with Tron Assemble plus the tower, that puts him at 12 mana. So he doesn't want to go down to 6. He's happy to go down to 8, because even if Musser has another Tron piece plus Walking Ballista, I believe it's still not lethal.
So this will be an attack here for 10.
He still has lethal next turn, and in fact, both of his Death Shadows are lethal next turn.
Has Musser draw another land? He absolutely has. So Clay Spicklemire is going to win this match over Dan Musser. 2 games to 0. 5-color Death Shadow going to take care of Eldrazi Tron. And if you were curious about the power of the card Death Shadow before, I think that question has been answered.
And, you know,